It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Mariam Longe. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Welcome back. We've missed
you. Thank you. I
you.
was knocked out by malaria. I mean, I was really, really bad. I hardly ever get sick. Everybody in my house like, is she sick? Is she really sick? Like, hey, yep, this is for real. So it knocked me out. The hospital I was doctors, and I'm good now. Just resting the best I can, but I'm well. Thank you so much.
Happy to see you.
Yes. How was your weekend?
Fine, thank you. I just want to give you this small gist. So I have this huge mango tree at the back of my house, and it's grown so big and into my neighbor's compound. And when it's fruiting, they pluck the mango. Sometimes I don't even get it because they would pluck most of it, or the branch that is carrying most of the fruits is right in their compound. Even when the fruits are not in their compound, they found ways to pluck. Yeah. Now it's rainy season, and most of the branches are in their compound. They've asked me to come and cut the branches because they have work. I say, nah. You eat the mango, you cut the branches.
You're kidding me.
So I was just wondering, what is the etiquette for that? Do they cut it down, or...
No, I think
for me, I have to cut it.
Well, no. It's permission. They could be asking you permission. Like,
yes, when I said, is it permission? It's fine, cut it. They're like, no, we expect it. I was like, really? Now you expect me to after you have finished the mango?
I know that, but I think that's something that happens with Mama Brown in Kikiti. They have a coconut. Same thing happens. So they have that issue with their neighbors to always say, okay, they're always plucking.
Yeah.
Plucking. And when it's time for trimming it, they're now asking mommy to come and look for someone to come and trim it.
They will run away. Nigerians are sentiment.
How are you doing?
I'm very good.
Your exercise is working. See you all. Look at you all.
I'm trying. I have a lot
thinning
of
out,
support.
seriously.
I have a lot of support.
They refuse to support me. Mariam and BC. The two of them refused. But it's okay.
Don't call them out on TV.
I've been looking at them in 3D.
Me?
No, just joking. Okay. Forgive me. I'm just joking.
So I don't even think it's the slimming. I think it's my birthday glow.
That's
we
true.
love it.
That's around the corner on the 12th.
Yeah. Yes. So countdown. I was last week. I was just like dragging myself to get in the mood, but like I'm totally in the mood now. Since Friday, I've been dancing my birthday song and all of that. But I wanted to say something because what Mariam said occurred we did a community meeting, zone meeting, and it's important for neighbors to be considerate of other people. Like, we're used to living life by what works for me. So, but we must, if everybody is thinking what works for me alone, the entire place will have a chaotic environment. So, being a kind, considerate neighbor is very, very important. I was driving this morning and somebody parked in the middle of the road to have a conversation. Like, right in the middle to have a conversation. And I'm wondering, are you thinking about the impact your action will have on every other person? Let's be considerate.
Talking about neighbors, mine sent me pepper soup.
Aww.
So in first one, she gave me a nice bowl of catfish, correct pepper soup. And
that's the kind of neighbors we want.
I farabale. In fact, Brown doesn't like eating food, boss. Food to come from somebody. He was like, I can't eat it. When I was eating the second fish, the third fish, Brown, are you sure you want some of this? Yeah, give me some. We ate it together. But I'm happy. But thank you so much, Tony. It was fantastic. It was delicious. How are you doing, Sweet 16?
I'm not doing well.
Oh.
I'm done with you. Transfer
Malaria,
typhoid to me, or typhoid, whatever they call it.
And you coughed in my face this morning.
Yes,
Ew.
because you were
Open
doing
her
like
mouth
one
and she
thing
coughed
that I
right
didn't
there.
understand. Yes, and I coughed right there. You are taking it next.
You look very, very sleepy. But you've also almost finished losing weight.
I've
Like,
nearly
Can't
vanished.
even find you again. Where are you in the class?
I'm watching your TV and wondering.
This is an old outfit that couldn't fit at the beginning of this
You're
year.
swimming in it.
I'm swimming literally.
Oh, wow.
But I love
Interesting.
it.
You guys are doing very well.
I love it.
Me too. We'll try to join you guys. But I must acknowledge my aunt, Auntie Shaki Owoniro. It was her birthday yesterday. It was 50. I was supposed to be there. I just couldn't make it. I just needed to rest and be ready for this week's work. So happy belated birthday to you and every other person that invited me for so many things this weekend. My aunties kept calling me, I hope you're not going to any party. I hope you're not going to say, I'm in the house.
They know you.
Make sure that their children are hearing, they can hear, you're in the house. I'm in the house. So I rested. I really rested this weekend. All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, let's find out what's going on in Nigeria. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Unfortunately, we don't have papers this morning, so we're just going to do the best we can with the little information we have. So we're going to start with the nation. I'm not sure what happened with our vendors today. Let's see. Senate President of the nation, Senate President, Speaker. APC's consensus moves unsettled parties. Oshimbajo. Buhari's armed forces investment turned tide against terrorists. 2023 poll, religious politics won't help Nigeria. Nasarawa governor warns. Northern governors backed power shift for unity. Fairness, says Lalong. Sudan, third batch of 131 Nigerian evacuees return. Okay, which story are we starting with in the nation?
I think let me start with the Sudan. So they said the third batch of 131 stranded Nigerians has arrived in Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The Taco airline plane B737-300 touched down 1:45 p.m. Said about 506 students have been evacuated since Nigeria started airlifting on Wednesday. The first batch of 376 was airlifted on Wednesday by Air Peace and Nigerian Air Force plane. The second batch of 130, which had 99% female students, was airlifted by the Sudanese aircraft Taco on Friday. The first batch was airlifted from Egypt, while the second batch came in from Port Sudan. The third batch is also coming from Port Sudan. So speaking shortly after welcoming the evacuees, the NIDCOM chairman, the Chief Executive Officer, Bike Dabirewa, expressed joy that the process had commenced, and she said that no Nigerian will be left behind. She also said it's not over until it's over. Another batch is coming tomorrow. Thank God the tension is less now. One thing is set, saying no one will be left behind. And she said a lot of people put tribal coloration to everything that's happening, but thankfully we are coming out of it, and the evacuees need to pay more attention and obey rules, especially in a place like Egypt. They are very strict with their rules, so any rule that is given must be obeyed, and hopefully all Nigerians will come home safely.
Okay.
Okay, I have King Charles III has been crowned, and according to the nation, he says the whole world watched in awe, you know, a 1,000-year tradition, you know, that was celebrated. Colors, about 100 leaders were there, and world leaders were there, millions of television audience. Was quite interesting. It's something to admire, you know, to have a tradition that's carried on for thousands of years, you know. But for me, unfortunately, the exciting thing for me was the after party, the concert. And our very own Tiwa Savage was at the concert. We enjoyed that very much. She looked beautiful and represented us well. Yes.
I also think that it's a conversation to have concerning traditions.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to our own traditions, we have a way of just, you know,
Thank you,
discarding it somewhat. So
but
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so also the president-elect, Bola Tinubu, sent a congratulatory letter to King Charles III, expressed the desire for further engagement between Nigeria and Britain in the years ahead. He said it is heartwarming that your ascension to quite long, but let me just read the first paragraph to the throne is coming after the 70-year reign of your iconic mother, Queen Elizabeth II, whose death last September left the entire world in grief with her eventful reign. Anyway, he's just saying, you know, we're looking forward to continue with the relationship we already have with them.
I feel like I was the only one that didn't watch the coronation.
A lot of people didn't. I didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it either. It was just everywhere.
I just saw
Like,
the excerpts online. But the vice president, our vice president, Vice President Osuajo, was at the 59th Nigeria Air Force anniversary in Enugu State. And he was there. He commended the team for their leadership that they've shown. They've actually been showing providing the Air Force. According to him, he said that the government's huge investment in the capacity development of the Nigerian Air Force and other security agencies has helped to turn the tide against terrorists and other violent non-state actors in our nation. He went further to say that he's proud that the Air Force has, in the years of its establishment, proved its mettle, both locally and internationally. And he's saying that he's quite impressed by the displays put up by the officers, airmen and airwomen of the Nigerian Air Force at the ceremonial event. So he was quite impressed, and was also saying that the president's investment in this regard has actually really helped terrorism in our country. Is there any story in the nation? Okay, let's move on now. As I said, we don't have papers, so just going to have to make do with how we can. Moving on now to the Punch. Let's see if I can find Punch.
Should we just go?
The Punch, let's see. CBB tells Tinubu others to submit forms before May 29th. FG lifts 888 Nigerians from Egypt, plans more evacuation. Osime, from Lagos street hawker to Syria.
Yes, so that's the hottest Nigerian footballer.
Passengers stranded, flights grounded as federal government shuts Abuja, Norway. Fuel-laden tanker crashes grounds Lagos-Ibadan expressway traffic. My ordeal with aggressive breast cancer, says Dezani. Protest as Northwest backs Akpabio for Senate presidency. And subsidy removal, Nigerians may spend 8 trillion naira on petrol in 6 months. Okay, which story are we starting with?
The passengers said a lot of passengers were stranded in the airport across the country as aviation authorities shut the runway of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, on Sunday after a MAX aircraft experienced 2 tire bursts shortly after landing on the runway. So the aircraft was coming in from Yola when the incident happened. However, there was no, it wasn't really like an accident. It was just landing in the runway and 2 tires burst. So they had to find a way to evacuate the passengers. Nobody was injured, and then they cordoned off the runway and, you know, cancelled all the flights. So Max Air has written apology to most of the passengers and the fact that they had to cancel all the flights in the runway. The federal government actually, you know, closed down the runway for that period so that they can, you know, find a way to take out the, or repair the tires or take out the aeroplane that, you know, landed with the tire bust. So the apology is for all all the passengers who were supposed to be going to Owerri, Abuja, Owerri, Abuja, Benin, Calabar, Abuja, Calabar, Benin, Abuja, Owerri, and Warri, Lagos. And so all the flights are cancelled. They are just saying they should be more patient. They will sort it out, and then schedule will resume as usual.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our reviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch, and I have the story on Dezani. So, the former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Dezani Alizimaduke, has prayed the Federal High Court in Abuja to set aside the bench warrant issued against her back July 2022. According to her, she accused the EFCC of concealing facts to obtain the bench warrant, contending that she was not on the run, but actually traveled to the United Kingdom to get treatment after being diagnosed with the most aggressive form of breast cancer. Says it's called the triple negative cancer. She had actually filed a motion through her lawyer, Michael Zekome, in SCN, or to Justice Olajuwon to extend within which she could leave, to extend the time to which she could seek leave to apply for the order of discharging the bench warrant. So this is really what she had issued through her lawyer, saying that she actually did not, she wasn't on the run as EFCC had implied. She was actually seeking medical attention for the aggressive breast cancer which she was diagnosed with back in 2021.
I have the story of the Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen. He says his goals has fired Napoli to their third Serie A triumph after 33 years. Anyway, he's such a hero in Italy. They said the children, they sing
Chanting his name.
They sing his praises in the streets of on the streets of Napoli. They said that during the Naples Carnival in February, the children would blacken their skin and wear a mask that he would normally wear, that he's been wearing since 2021 after a facial injury. He is worshipped and he's loved. Wow. And so, of course, this report follows his story of how he started. He grew up really poor here in Lagos. He said there were many children. His mom died. They were homeless. They live in the Olusosun. Oh my God. Whatever, the dump site. That's where they live. They didn't have a roof over their head. He would sell pure water, run the streets, you know, as they do, following traffic. And one time, Amunike, the coach for a younger team, had cited him. He was taken to Abuja and he played for a few hours, and that was where he was picked. And from then on, here he is today, a hero.
What a story.
What a story.
Very beautiful story. Okay. I want to take the story about Akpabio. So the Senate's the Northwest have already supported the Senate presidency for Senate presidency for the 10th Assembly to move to South. That's Senator Akpabio becoming the Senate president. And they said that the Northwest will be getting the portfolio as Deputy Senate President. They picked Senator Godswill Akpabio for Senate President and Senator Barau Jibrin from the Northwest as the Deputy Senate President. They also mentioned that they were going to be picking two other people, Tajuddin Abbas from Kaduna and Benjamin Kalu from Abia will become the next leaders of the House. That's according to the stakeholders meeting. However, another group of stakeholders from the North Central are saying they had a press conference in Abuja on Sunday, and they said unanimously they faulted the reports of the decision by the APC leadership on Senate presidency that the position of the Speaker and of the House of Representatives should come to North Central because they are not being considered in all of this politics. But we'll see how it plays out. We should look out for the 5th of June is when the House of Assembly would be sworn in, and after then we'll see how this entire drama counting down plays out.
Okay, let's move on now to Daily Sun. Southeast senators demand Senate President-elect. My last moment with Umaru Musa Yar'Adua says Turai. Headsmen kill husband, wife, 5 others in 3 Benue communities. PDP alleges plot to influence presidential election tribunal. Aircraft tire burst into flames on landing at the Abuja airport. Fuel subsidy. Sisla queries $800 million World Bank loan for Nigerians. And Sudan crisis, 1,471 Nigerians arrive at Abuja. Okay, which story are we starting with?
I'll do the headsmen. So gunmen suspected to be headsmen militia have killed 7 people, including a man and his wife, in separate attacks on 3 communities in Goma local government area of Benue State. According to the Daily Sun, it said that while 4 people were killed in Hinyam village, 1 was killed in Governor Samuel Otom's hometown, Otom village, and 2 others were killed in Semaka village, all of them from Goma local government. According to the locals, they said this incident happened last Friday. So a source from the area, Mr. Jonah Jorundu, told Daily Sun that the man who was killed was a Catholic of St. Peter Catholic Church, Hinyam. And the usual pattern is that the headsmen will shoot people and also use cutlass to cut them. So they shot the Katkis, his wife and 1 woman, and after shooting them, they still used cutlass on them. Their bodies were recovered from the bush and has been buried by their relatives. So when they contacted the police public relations officer, the Benue State Command, Catherine Anene, she said she was yet to get information on the incident. But the chairman of the local government, Goma, Mr. Mike Oba, confirmed the killings, said it was a very sad incident, and they'll still keep going back to the police to see how the issues can be resolved.
All right, so May 5th marked the 13th anniversary of the death of the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, and Daily Sun had gone to interview his wife, his widow, Hajia Turaya Adua, just how life has been. And she was, it was an interesting interview to read, actually. It was about the last moments. According to her, she's been actually fasting while he was sick up until he died. And on that fateful day, she had actually wanted to just excuse herself to go break her fast. It was while she did that he had passed on, and she quietly regretted because he didn't really want her to leave, because she kept asking him, can I go and break my fast? He kept saying no, but she had to just excuse herself to break the fast. She was then going on about how people have actually supported the family since his passing. But I was particularly interested in all the drama that happened. Remember that, those of you that were in the news, serious drama, how she shielded everybody from her husband. But that wasn't asked. It wasn't asked. But I mean, I'm happy that she was like, she cooked for him, she cared for him, and she only did exactly what he wanted her to do. So
I read the story as well, and I liked she said she has the advice for the incoming First Lady.
Oh, yeah.
She said that she has to be patient. She says if the president-elect is like the way her husband was, who didn't take any alcohol, didn't chase any women, was not corrupt, she became the target. And so that if a president-elect is like her husband, she will be the target, but she needs to, be patient.
Thankfully, the president-elect's wife has been in the corridors of power for a long time. And
she's a politician herself.
So I want to take the story of, sadly, accidents taking place at Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Reason we're taking this story is because we've been saying it over and over again, overspeeding. The public education officer of the Federal Road Safety Corps in Ogun State, Mrs. Florence Ukpe, had told the newsmen in Abeokuta yesterday that there was an accident that occurred 6:25 p.m. on Saturday, and it involved a Sino-truck and a Toyota car. So the Toyota car driver was overspeeding and rammed into the moving truck from the rear. This led to the loss of 3 lives. There were the 2 people survived, were injured, taken to the hospital, but 3 people died that could be avoided if they were not overspeeding. So the education officer for FRSC is saying that we're in the raining season, please don't overspeed when you have poor visibility. And I think that's very important information for everybody to take on.
Okay, we have to run. Final paper, Vanguard. Let's find the story of not taking. FG confirms May 22nd for the inauguration of the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote refinery. Will exploit confusion in APC to produce speaker. Sudan 4th batch arrives in Abuja. Let's see, what other story? Agri sector growth defies 1.8 million trillion loan infusion. Let me just quickly take the story of the Dangote refinery. So all the naysayers saying it can never happen, it can never happen. The federal government is saying categorically, by the special assistant to the president himself, was saying in a tweet, actually, it says that efforts by the federal government to make Nigeria self-sufficient in local refinery of crude to save the scarce foreign exchange used in the importation of the petroleum will receive a boost as the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote refinery is set to be inaugurated May 22nd. Nigerians are worried. Are you trying to just rush it? Because this May 29, everybody wants to do something. Lagos-Ibadan, May 29. May 29. Everybody's trying.
This is
they're trying to rush it, but
They want
don't
to
know.
rush everything.
We are hoping that indeed by 22nd, that it is actually pumping 650,000 barrels per day.
As promised.
We are hoping, as promised. We really hope. But
I also hope they will not say they're paying in dollars, because I think that is on the free trade zone.
Those are granular details we don't want to get into. But the point is that they'll be inaugurated by that day.
All right.
Story in Tribune, I don't know if you can take it. NDLA.
Yeah.
And how they were chasing drugs in 2 trucks. They had brought it in.
It's not Lagos, Charles.
Lagos. In fact, they had over 8,852 kilograms of Canadian loud. And they had intercepted them at the Eleko Beach Road in Lekki area.
Hi.
There was like 30 minutes gun duel. They had stopped them. NDLA had gotten gist that they were bringing these things. So they now intercepted them around that area. And they tried to stop them. The driver saw and they fled. And
They catch them?
Yes, they caught them. And now they're on the trail of the major kingpin.
The sponsors.
That's good news.
Van Damme
It's
and all the
worrisome.
Jaguar-
Yes.
All the Jaguar moves in this.
What do you mean in
Thank God,
Lagos?
Charles,
Don't they
we're still
take drugs
alive.
in Lagos?
That is all. I'm telling you.
I don't understand.
It's
That's
like
all we
Mexico.
can take
Hey.
on today's review. I just came back. Oh, please don't stress me. You'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So the biggest news this morning is the new king of the United Kingdom, King Charles, recently crowned over the weekend. Everybody was watching it. It was one of the most talked about. It wasn't so much about the coronation, but all the various factors around the coronation. More importantly, his queen. She was the queen consort, and now she's officially the queen. A lot of conversations around the fact that this was Camilla that was highly criticized, especially even during King Charles's marriage to Diana, how she was this side chick that finally became queen. The other factors concerning around all the world leaders that showed up, those who were sick, who carried themselves in their crutches and all that to be there. The performance by Tiwa Savage, the fact that the display of culture and tradition that we saw and we appreciate and applaud in comparison to how we denigrate ours or even dismiss ours in Africa. These are some of the conversations that have been going on since weekend when the coronation had taken place. What are your own general thoughts on, I'd like to start with the tradition before we go into the talk on Camilla and the works. We saw a display of culture. We saw a display of procedure, where he had to touch the ring, lots of things had to be done, of the practices. And someone is saying that ours have been lost because we've criticized and condemned ours in so many ways. Ours haven't really been branded, we haven't really packaged our own culture and traditions. Recently, we had a king, King Tuashe.
Okay.
Tuashe, who was, that was a fantastic display, which we enjoyed, which I was happy that we did. But it's just another reminder of how we must, how we must understand the place of culture and modernization. What are your thoughts on all that took place over the weekend? Who would like to go first?
So, let me. I feel like, the procession, the pomp, as in the horses. And I felt like it was such a beautiful thing. I only saw it on Instagram. I didn't sit down to watch the entire clip of how it happened because I felt like I'm a Nigerian. I'm not going to let my mind spend my time, invest my time into watching the culture.
We watch their movies.
But let me explain where I come from. So my perspective is that we should be reminded about the importance of ritual processes and procedures and the fact that it is 1,000-year-old. Because the chair is sat on, that's the same chair every other king for the past 1,000 years sat on that same chair. That same chair with different things on the body. People inscribe different things, but different kings back to back. It's not about it's not comfortable. The chair has no cushion. There are more grand chairs that should be had. The thought is this is how we do it. This is how we will continue to do it. The Prime Minister is not a Christian. He quoted the Bible. Why? This is the process of how we do it. When we are coronating our king, we follow this procedure. And we've gone to a place in Nigeria where we don't revere our things. But I've seen the Sultan's ceremony. Men, Morayo, it is beautiful. What I want is for media to be shutting down the way they shut down for England. The media around the world shut down. Even in Nigeria, the media shut down for the coronation of Prince Charles, King Charles.
Yeah.
When we do our own here, we don't need to pay. Because what media houses in Nigeria are expecting is that the person about to be crowned should pay for media airtime. No, you honor your kings. If we're having a new sultan being wrapped, everybody should carry, it's usually days of festivity, the Durban, beautiful display of culture that our children don't see. Well, our children will see this because it is trending. Atuwashe's ceremony was very beautiful, yeah. He displayed a lot of Christendom in the process, which is not his core culture. But it was a beautiful ceremony, but we did not make it trend as much as we should. So I think that it is important that we have this conversation, but we remind ourselves that we have an identity. You cannot deny the British identity when you see that coronation. They put their culture to the world. Right. Nigerian identity should also be put to the world whenever we have the opportunity to process.
Bisi, what are your thoughts? Or Mariam would like to go next.
Okay, yes. So I stopped everything and I watched it, and I watched as much as I could, because for me it was just a celebration of culture, culture that has been preserved, sustained, and as Maria used earlier, branded, you know, into modern times. And I remember the question I was asking my husband, I was saying, so for me, I'm more familiar with, you know, the northern turbaning and it's always there. But I was saying that everything with the coronation is so organized. You know, everybody knows their place, what they're meant to say, and things like that. But from what I have seen here in Nigeria is that there's a lot of commotion that happens. And we've been doing this too for many, many years. So I'm like, what are we doing? Why can't we organize ourselves too? Why can't we brand it as well? So that it comes across as more, you know, like
I appreciate the awesomeness.
You know, that we are thinking it through. It's not every time that we'll just come and just, hey, horses flying everywhere, everybody's doing, hey.
But is the confusion our culture, Mariam?
No, it's, well, I won't say it's our culture. I would just think that civilization, see, the British as well have had a period of time where they were just running helter-skelter, they don't bath, but over time they have civilized and have refined themselves, and that's what I would like to see more of. I think we still have a respect. We do have respect for our culture. And if we want to compare it to how well, how big it's celebrated, we need to also understand that the United Kingdom, the English, the British people, they own world media. So for us, with the media that we have, you know, the more we own that kind of media, the more we influence the world, the more our culture will be seen around the world. Today, yesterday, we had a Tiwa Savage stand, you know, during that concert. It wasn't like that 70 years ago when his own mother, you know. So it's just that over time we will see more of that. We should be more appreciative of what we have. We have a beautiful culture. I cannot just wait for when we will do something and the whole world is just,
and
you know,
still to watch.
we'll stand at an attention to just watch us, and then we'll have all these Oyinbo people come and dance for us during our own concert.
Do you think that? So, okay, let me come to you, BC. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, okay. So, congratulations to King Charles. Yeah, congratulations to him. He's not my problem right now. Nigeria has a lot that we need to look into. So I didn't watch. I didn't even know anything was happening. I was rolling on my bed. But from the few clips I saw on social media, I like the fact that, you know, they keep appreciating their culture. They keep showing their culture to the world. They keep getting people to, you know, fall in love with what they present and also how they present it. I know that it's not like we're a rowdy people, so to speak, but it's just that we haven't learned how to plan effectively. That's just the problem. Everything is usually done in a hurry. If Nigerians can take time, like when I was working in an international organization, even as a school, before we do our Christmas show, we rehearse for weeks. These are children between 2 to 6 years. We rehearse for weeks on that particular day of that event, an event that is just about 30 minutes display. It will be so perfect. The parents will be so wowed that these kids made no mistake. Everything would just work out effortlessly because we had rehearsed for weeks to get to that point. So if we can take our own project like this is us presenting to the world who we are and what we are, and not just doing things because, well, it's time for this one. Let's just move. You know, let's just do it anyhow. Nobody's watching. Then we can have our traditional ceremonies rehearsed before that day. These people, I'm sure they have been rehearsing for months and years. That is how their standard is. We can take a leaf from that.
So something like that, basically, it's been documented. The process is documented.
Yes.
So if anybody...
You know the right things to do at the right time. How many steps you take before you turn left? How many steps before you turn...
So it's right. It's part of, even in companies here, they say, what are the SOPs? What is standard? Everything is documented. Even in the studio, how do you start to put, the show starts at this time, you turn on the camera at this time, you turn it off at this time, you do, the script is provided at this time. Those are
everybody follows through.
Those are details that even if you're not here, anybody who comes after you can take it over. Yeah. So that is part of what they've done successfully, that from generation to generation, they're able to document the process. Because just like you said earlier, Tokwe, that wooden chair was made in 1300.
Yeah.
And they said that the king was anointed on his head, chest, and hands. He was given the golden orb and a scepter, which we saw, which is carried. He said, I'm trying to see they said that the wife, like the queen, was going to be wearing Queen Mary's crown, while he wore the St. Edward's crown. I mean, these are things that have been passed from generations.
The colonialists came here. What they do is to subdue, push down the culture of the colonized, and then put their own forward. And that's what happens generally when you take over somebody. You own that person, and you want the person to do things your own way. They've done that, they've gone. We're still reaping the, will I say, consequences or repercussions of what they have done, in a way that we really have lost some of our culture. We do not even understand our identity anymore. I think it's time now for Nigerians to begin to look inwards. We need to begin to tell our own stories. We need to begin to go back to our own cultures. I'm starting up a conversation with my father because I want to find out who my real ancestors are. I want to know who they worshipped at the time that they worshipped, I saw some of the practices growing up anyway, but I've forgotten most of them. So it's a conversation I'm opening because I want to know my roots. And I think Nigerians have gotten to that point where we need to go back to our roots, know who we are, know some of the cultures that we want to preserve, and then start rebranding it for not just the world. You see this meditation we're doing today, this yoga, whatever they call it that we're doing today, it's an Eastern culture. It's been rebranded and repackaged and sold to us, and everybody's jumping up and down, let's meditate, let's do yoga, let's do this, let's do that. And it seems like it's new age. It's not new age. These people have been doing it for thousands of years. What can people say that we have learned from Africa, taken from Africa, that has been the practice for thousands of years, that has helped in their spirituality, to settle them, to make things better? Nothing. So we need to look inwards. And Africa was a rich spiritual place before the colonialists came. We cannot allow other people to, shine their own light and then make us look like it's only darkness we have.
I like that. I like that. So it's an opportunity for us, again, as I said, to look within. Because there's so many solutions that Africans do provide, but we've not been properly articulated. That's why we don't trust it. It hasn't earned the respect for Nigerians, because we just wonder, how did this happen? How did you do this and this happened? But the other points concerning this event I'd like us to touch on, the Camilla part of it.
Are we going there
yet? Should we go there yet?
We don't have that much time. It's Monday.
Because I wanted to just say something about, sometimes when we watched the coronation, we thought it went seamlessly. But if you watch the news at the time, they said Prince Charles was complaining about how late they were running, and and they talked about other kings as well who were upset about different things. So it's not perfect, even for them. It's not perfect. And so for us, we're not saying that, even though we're imperfect right now, there is a way that we can do it going forward. Right. That documentation is so important. But even for them, it's not perfect, but at least the imperfection is within a process.
See how they even incorporated young kids.
So the children
are observing and seeing.
Somebody was saying, a parenting coach I follow online was saying that when you say you are raising your children to be royalty, look at, so of course, they still yawned, they still talked a bit, but those kids stood. I was like, they stood for a long time. Practice. They knew what they were going to do, and they comported themselves in a way that was beyond what you'd expect from children that age. And that's because they were brought up with the mindset and the responsibility of, this is your grandfather's coronation. You are a royal kid. You have to be.
We have that.
You have to look this way. And I know.
We have that. So our
just
children
highlighting.
So it's important for us to just
children born in those circumstances and families in Nigeria have that as well. They know what's expected of them being from that kind of.
But did you know that King Charles himself actually specifically asked for 12 artists? So I'm just, Tivasa was probably one of it. He specifically asked for 12, and they were the ones that performed, including Tivasa. So I'm sure he requested for her too. There was something else I had picked up on, a few highlights, but I think I lost it right now.
Okay, there's something they also said about this coronation, is that it was very inclusive. So we saw Black people, So in fact, there's someone that made a whole list of the number of Nigerians that were part of this coronation, and and then there were lots of women as well. There was a lady that was leading them, and they were saying, never has a woman done that. So it showed that this particular king is very modern and aware of the times.
Congratulations. Let's talk about Camilla for a moment. Because
that's the one that
was
considered
trending all over social media. Camilla, everybody is side chick has become queen. Side chick, I'm like, Nigerians and our people, how we are just so trying to make a mountain out of something really small. So why
Not small.
why do you think people paid a lot of attention on the Camilla story? Because this is a woman that I hardly ever see her speak. She's just been one of this person that I've not seen her in the outside.
Not the way she's not Diana.
You know how Diana was, and we knew who Diana was, you know, as a child. Well, Camilla is only unless of those who are probably following, particularly the monarch or those who live in the UK might know more of her. But those of us on the outside were still, okay, we just know she's there, Sha. What's your own input on Camilla and this fact that now all her like Nigerian way, all her enemies that said she would never get there. She has gotten there and in the presence of her enemies.
Oh my God.
God has elevated
when
her
I put that crowd on her head, there was the way she was doing her hair, like,
you know,
in my mind, I'm like, she's saying, you think after all the noise, here I am. The crowd is up ahead. Look at my eyes very well. I just thought that's what she was saying. She even had such a huge smile. You know, they can be quite solemn. She had a huge smile on her face,
She's been there for years.
But for me, this conversation about side chick or no side chick, I have said this before, and I'll say it again. It's the man that determines who his side chick is.
Yeah.
He determines who his side chick is, whether you are in the outside or in the inside. He's the one that will tell you, you are the side chick and you are the number one. Simple and short. Now, having said that, the reason why it's such a topic, and it's not just here in Nigeria, I've heard many talk shows already across the world, they are talking about it, is because there's something about marriage that's supposed to give you, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh. Yes, something like that, you know. And the side chick in the end is supposed to lose. She's supposed to lose out, you know. So and then here we have this beautiful girl at the time, Princess Diana. She seemed to have everything. She was beautiful. She looked good for the camera. She was, you know, doing so much for humanity as well. Beautiful sons. And then we have this man who decided to be with this older woman, who, in the eyes of the media and the world, was not even anywhere close in beauty, you know, to the wife that he had at home. So all the things that should have marked her wrong is what we're looking for. You know, we like to insert ourselves in stories because we hope that it tells our own story. That, okay, when you hear married women say, well, I am the married one, it's supposed to give you some advantage. And we have seen that theory being broken before our face. Like, this is the thing that we're supposed to hold on to. That would mean that if we go this certain path, this is how we will end up with the fairy tale. But obviously, on a huge, grand scale like this, you know, it shows us that the theory is not always true for everyone. So for me, the only theory I would take away is the side chick is determined by the man, whether you're a wife or on the outside.
What are your thoughts on this topic?
So I want to quote a lady I follow on Facebook, Ronke, and she was like, the main chick. She said, the main chick who became a side chick and later regained her status as the main chick. Seemed like the story of Camilla. Some of the things that, while on one side you'd be like, stay in the marriage and endure all through, for me, her story is also a love story. It's a story of we love ourselves. It looked like it wasn't going to work. I did not tick the box to become a queen. And several decades later, our love stood the test of time. So that's another perspective of the story. Well, the media, British media will have different things to say about it, but that for me, because he's always loved her right from the get-go.
Let me pause.
Now, we don't like the in-between, that he was faithful, he was unfaithful to his wife at the time, she was also unfaithful to her husband at the time, and all of that drama happened, but somehow love found a way, and now they are king and queen of England.
Okay, yeah. I like that part you took us to, because let me come to BC. A woman loved a man. For whatever reason, that man went to marry somebody else, right? Now, is this woman supposed to just wait?
She married first.
No, I'm just saying, like, I used to also hope in anticipation at some point that this my husband that has gone to marry, or this love of my life that's gone on to marry somebody else, and they've now become the world loves this couple, but he's my true love. So, question is, when women are in this situation where Camilla was, while Charles was married to Diana, having 2 children, doing all that, what should women in this situation do? Let me just go on a break. When we come back, we have this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing Camilla, and I'll come into BC because many would argue that Camilla wasn't a side chick. She was the main chick. Was this a true love story, that maybe fate just derailed somehow, and then God brought them back together? What are your thoughts on this?
So, I always like to start with a prayer. May our love not be another person's twin flame. Or another person's, there's this other word they call it, another person's soulmate. Because I'm realizing now that we always want to have black and white. We always want to see life as right and wrong. But there's a lot of grays. There's a lot of in-between that we can't even explain with human mind. And I've seen people who have found each other, falling in love. They're not able to marry for some reason. So probably the family is saying, this person is not a royal, we can't allow you do this. But the man's heart is there. And I also take us back to the scriptures. We remembered Jacob, who wanted Rachel. And the father said, no, you can't have Rachel because Rachel is younger. Leah has to go first. And he had to serve extra. After serving for Leah, he had to serve another extra to get Rachel. And even when they both came to the house, he mistreated Leah. His heart was with Rachel. The reason God decided to bless Leah with more children, as a way of compensating. I've also known that once a man falls in love with somebody, except his death that takes that person away, it's really difficult for the man to just, move on. Even if the person goes ahead, gets married, that love for the man is always usually there. So, in fact, when I get home now, I'll go and ask my husband, are you sure that I am your main and your side chick together? Or I am the side chick in the house and there's a main, it's only a man, like Miriam said, only a man would decide who is the main and who is the side chick. And however life treats you as a woman, if your love decides to marry somebody else for maybe family reasons and all that, I wouldn't advise you to wait, but some people don't mind, even if they are getting into other relationships, their heart is still, in fact, we had somebody we coached recently, she's in a married homo, her husband's house. But anytime she talks about the ex. And the excitement, she will stand up, when we're having a conversation, she'll stand up, she's talking, she's dramatizing about the ex. I'll be pinching myself, my other coach will pinch me. We realized that she's still traumatized about the relationship and she's still in love with this ex. And I asked her, is this how you have a conversation about your ex in front of your husband? She said, yes, he knows it. I don't care, that's it, I know. I pinched myself again. I'm like, this man should know that the wife he's married to is not for him. This woman is still in love with this ex, that they have a lot of history together. She's been mistreated by this ex and the family. She is still traumatized by the experiences, but she's still in love. She has not let go, and she's been married to this second one for how many years now? So sometimes it's not what you can solve. As a woman, wherever you find yourself, just make do with what you have.
Okay, so that's on the issue of Camilla. I was going to go to the issue.
Let me just say this comment on Camilla. Somebody said, Queen Camilla Metamorphosis. That's the Queen's Metamorphosis. From main chick to side chick to wife, now queen. End of story.
No, I just wanted to say I'd heard somewhere where they said that the recipe for full-blown affair, an exciting affair, is desire plus obstacle. So I can see how a Camilla, over the course of years, will be the exciting option. She's the one that he was not supposed to be with. She was the temptation he was going for. And many people have said that once the obstacle has been taken out, then a lot of people find out that the embers of the excitement and desire just dies down. And so maybe in that case, what happened for him is that, you know, all the excitement and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm crossing 7 seas and climbing mountains for you. All the media, all the negative things they're saying about you, but you and I are going to be together forever, you know.
That's
So
fine. I'm
maybe
happy- I'm
that
really
recipe
happy.
helped.
But then one of the other highlights of the coronation was the protests. Those who are saying that they must not protest, that in fact they were against the monarch, saying that it's time for them to
They're not
do
my
away
king.
with it. What are your thoughts on that? Because many were comparing that if it was Nigeria that they were protesting now, they'll say, oh, they shouldn't be protesting and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on the protesting? And I heard that they actually arrested them, but they've since released them. What are your thoughts on the protest?
It's a free. See, the world. We shouldn't. Many people have idolized the whites. They've idolized the Western world and feel like we are behind, or things we are doing, they will not do it in the Western world. The point is, every human being, there are those that will see things one way, and another person will see things at the same thing in another way. So while some are grateful that they have a new monarch, we have a new king, they are excited about the coronation, some people feel like the entire monarchy is useless, and they are calling for the end of the entire monarchy system. So I am happy that they were bold enough to protest. I feel that it's the job of the police to restore law and order by arresting a few of them. And in a proper society, thankfully, they were released. So maybe what we should learn is, if we arrest protesters in Nigeria, you don't need to wait for a long time. Arrest to just quell the protest, but quickly as well release them.
Then what of this lady, Eva Omagbome? She's the global communication strategist. She's the king. She's looking in a Nigerian regalia. I mean, it was good to see her also in the procession. Guess, you want to say something?
I was going to say about the protest.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. So I think, you know, yes, when they were doing the reporting, you know, CNN would go to our own correspondent here in Nigeria to ask also how Nigerians looking at this, and Steph Busari would say, Nigerians really don't care. They really don't care. They are moving, doing their own. But I think that it brings about the conversation around for Nigerians, for Africans, really. We had people saying, the jewels on your crown was stolen from us.
Yeah.
Your whole monarchy and whatever it is was built on the backs of our own ancestors. You have
your slaves.
You know, you have impoverished us for generations, and then here you are today celebrating it. So we have a whole group of people, new generation of people that are looking at them differently. Our own parents or grandparents revered them. They looked at them like the king of the world. But now the children are like, no, we know how you got where you are. So the conversation is quite different. Now in the UK also, the people are different. We have so many black people, Indians, mixed race, people married, and they're saying, really, of what impact do you have on the country anymore? You're just an expensive, symbolic, family. We need to do away with that. And it now brought the question to our own. Here we are. We're saying that we need to celebrate our culture and bring it. We need to celebrate our culture and brand it the way theirs has been branded. And yet we have a world that's going towards a bit more freedom. We don't want any family member or any type of family to be above others just because. So I just feel. It's
nice that we're looking at different angles of the entire coronation. I mean, there was another highlight for me. The golden orb used for the coronation by the monarch was carried by a Nigerian woman, Elizabeth Anyonwu, who decided to tie a headgear instead of wearing a hat. So that also was there in there. So it was so many very colorful, very colorful in the different cultures. So it's also bringing together all the various countries they had colonized, and somewhere you could see the display from different cultures. I mean, I think it was beautiful to watch. But again, as I said, there are other issues that have been raised by different quarters. It's an opportunity for us to also celebrate ours.
Nice. My heart did somehow. Yeah, I just
Yeah,
felt
there's
it in my
been, yeah,
just
so,
shivered.
I mean, Africa was represented somewhat, I mean, people were there, Indians, you know, but the thing is that it was still pronounced, the British culture was still pronounced, and and it's just a reminder of where we're coming from, which is what Mariam reminded us, so that the conversation of this generation is different from what our parents, because I know my Brown, my husband's mother, still remembers when the Queen came to Nigeria. She was one of the little kids that were lined up to receive, and she still talks about that day as if it was yesterday, because forever she could remember. So when he came to say Kitty or something, you know, she was there. The Queen came there, and she was one of the kids that received the Queen. So she does remember that entire experience. But I'm really happy that it's happened, and we've seen all the various angles, but we have to wrap up on this. You want to say something,
No,
Chrissy?
congratulations to them. We have our issues to solve in this.
Don't worry, we know we have our issues, no problem. But once in a while like this, it's good to join the world in global conversations concerning coronations like this. It's a reminder of who we are, where we're coming from, and also how we can repackage and rebrand our own culture. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we're still discussing something that happened in the UK, but this time around about Senator Ekweremadu. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Joining us on the show is a security, diplomacy, economy analyst, Mr. Chukwuma Okenwa. He'll be discussing the former Deputy President of the Senate, Ike Ekweremadu's conviction. Last Friday, he was sentenced to 9 years and 8 months in prison for organ trafficking. You can join the conversation at 081-281-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC. Can I please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. All right, so thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning. Many Nigerians on Friday listened to the sentencing of the former Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, and his wife, and even Dr. Obeta too. The three of them were convicted. It was quite painful to see somebody of that status be put in that situation. However, given the facts of the case, people understood that organ trafficking, obviously, this was a landmark sentence in the UK. It was probably the first of its kind for them. In your thoughts, what do you make of this case, and what could have been done to prevent this?
Well, first and foremost, let me say there are two sides to this particular matter. First, the side of a father being compassionately moved with the travails of the daughter. I am a father, and I can confirm the closeness I have with my daughters. You know, when you have your daughter cry out to you in pains, it's something that could predispose one to act irrationally. Howbeit, given the fact of the issue, of the matter, and as pointed out by the judge, you now look at the second dimension, the fact that the UK is a place where they respect the law, the rule of law. The interesting thing about this is Senator Ike Ekweremadu is a Nigerian, the daughter, Nigerian, the wife, Nigerian, the UK doctor, Nigerian. So you really find out that the interest of the UK is that they left the whole of Nigeria to come and commit this crime that even the UK citizens for the past 8 years have respected. Another thing also I find indicting is, like the judge also pointed out, that Senator Ike Ekweremadu was also packed to the legislation of the Health Act 2014 that also prohibits and criminalizes organ transplant and sales, right? Like in terms of sale of organs. So looking at that, it is expected that if you know the law, you are expected to do better. You are expected to do better, because ignorance of the law is not even an excuse, not to talk about when you know the law and when you were a lawmaker yourself, And the one I even find indicting on the entire image of the country is the fact that he is a serving senator.
Right.
Honestly, everybody has been talking about this, and we just felt like we should also chip in into the conversation. Some people are of the opinion like, yes, he deserves it. The kind of thing that he would do in Nigeria, and there will be no justice because he's in power. Because it has happened in the UK, justice is being meted out to someone who, according to them, deserves it. And you know, there's an anti-politician, anti-leader concept that is very strong in the country because people feel like we don't have good healthcare. If we had good healthcare, we would not need to go abroad. If we had served Nigeria well, all these things. So there are people who are approaching this from the emotional part and feeling like serves you right. And I feel like a parent. I'm heartbroken for the pain that would have made this person, made the senator and his wife get to the point where they will consider paying someone to donate their... Don't you believe that we should have been able to prevail on the system, on the justice system, based on like mercy, that they should probably send him back to Nigeria for processing or for the trial, or that they should have tempered that law with a bit more mercy when they were sentencing him?
Okay, as we can authoritatively confirm from the papers of the judgment delivered, there were attempts, both from the Senate President, he wrote, and also both from the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and as well as the Attorney General, the Federation. I believe that suffices to confirm that there was like some certain, all of the moves that is needed from the nation to ensure that justice is tampered with mercy. But don't forget, the UK holds jurisdiction in this case. And most importantly, when you talk about diplomacy, which is the chief tool in international relations, one thing counts. You look about the status of a particular nation, the respect you've been able to garner. I tell you, if this case was between the US and the UK, and they show interest in that case, I'm sure like the outcome would actually be better because they know that the case is not going to be swept under the carpet. As a matter of fact, it's going to be that bad that the US might end up punishing the citizen more. But they don't want it to be like more or less like an external affair, where the news is reported both in Nigeria and also in the UK. But in the case of Nigeria, with some of the things, consigns, and even things that they read online, for some people that feel like, oh, this is deserving. If it were in Nigeria, it wouldn't have happened. That is open source intelligence. And the UK would have been like, oh, if we release this man to Nigeria, then there won't be consequences. So it's a consign.
So I'm happy, we went that way because I've heard many people speak and I hear sympathy and empathy for the Ikweremadus. I've heard very little about the boy whose organ would have been used, or for his family or his family members that may not have been sure of what they had done, for that child. And so for me, I was going to say the only way I guess the UK was going to be sure that justice will be served is to make sure that he's there. And so my question is, then on what moral grounds is the Senate and the House of Reps and the Speaker calling for mercy? Are they in a way agreeing or validating or, what the Ikweremadus have done or were planning to do?
Perhaps because he's a senator.
Yeah,
because one of the things, I'm widely traveled, and part of what I do deliberately is engage with the Nigerian community and the high commissions in some cases. And it's regrettable to know that in many cases, when Nigerians get into trouble and you reach out to the Nigerian High Commission in that nation, there won't be any response. So there's not that part of concern and all the rest, even from the High Commission. And I think it's one of the things the next administration should begin to look into, where you're wading into like any matter that has to do with Nigeria, if they reach out to you. And then even also like issues of renewal of passports, taking up to 2 months. I mean, it really brings Nigerians to ridicule, where they are not treated as Nigerians in their High Commission. But far away from that, I think the only reason would be that this is a serving senator, and I mean, in that spirit of brotherhood, or we are all in the National Assembly.
I think there's some things that are just a no-no. And that aren't there just some things that should just be, we would like to separate ourselves from this action?
In all honesty,
is this just enough to just be a part and parcel of
in all honesty, we can actually look at these two ways, but then the two ways we have to look at it is that whatever be the case, the image of the nation is at stake. You are not going to say, I am not the Ike Okwaramadio's family, right? Whatever thing like in Nigeria does abroad. You know, when we talk about ambassadors, you have the formal ones and informal ones. Exactly. Every Nigerian abroad is an ambassador.
Exactly.
Because whatever thing you do, the next time you travel in and you are subjected to excess scrutiny, just because you are Nigerian, then know that it's coming, it's culminating from the actions and inactions of some Nigerians that are abroad.
Yeah, can this justice be also appealed? Because I know that after cases like this, if you still feel aggrieved, you can go back and appeal and appeal and appeal, and it may change later on.
Yeah, sure. That is possible, like through political and diplomatic solutions. You understand? But as it stands, the judge has spoken and it stands.
But you know, I've watched several movies, you know, we've watched many Hollywood movies, and they will have lawyers find a way to always put in some kind of a medical angle to this. Because the reason why I said that, just over the weekend, I was watching a documentary on the brain, and it was talking about the fact that there is a component, an amygdala-like component in the brain, which is called the amygdala, which is the one that handles your fear, and it gives you the fight or flight mode. So when there's fear come over a human being, it shuts off totally, and you become very irrational. Your actions completely, you're not able to activate being rational. So could there have been a way to make a case where this man was actually scared of losing his child? These parents they're totally afraid, and somewhat were irrational in saying, okay, let me find whomever I can find to get me a kidney. Could they have made some kind of a case to help this man and his family to understand the reason that they couldn't be rational enough to make the right decision? Yeah,
even much more than that. I mean, that was pointed out. And even more to the fact that, oh, come on, he's a good man, he has a foundation, right? You know, and most importantly, he's not had criminal records in time past. But I believe as a professor of law, a lawmaker, and as someone who is that advanced, there are certain cases where you want to, especially when you want to do it beyond your country, you should be able to like seek legal advice. And let me say something, why I mentioned that what we actually stand better this time around is political solution and diplomatic, and not maybe going to appeal. In our own instance in Nigeria, maybe you go to a lower court, and because you have some contacts up, you try to suppress, but most likely, even if you try to like push it up, they're likely that the law is the law. You understand? It stands. I mean, this is a nation where rule of law stands. You can even see like somebody who is well reputed and have even served in high-placed office in some of those nations, you know, passing through the same travails.
Yeah. Right. I wanted to mention something. So I know that it's something that in the UK is illegal. To a large extent, we know as Nigerians that these things happen. Like, it's not, it might be something that is in the law illegal, but it's things that people do. So when Mariam asked that question, like, why are the senators, I'm sure there are some crimes that senators will commit that all the senators will not be able to speak to say, let's defend this person. But in this case, it is in a society, when we discuss it, like we mentioned that in Nigerian society, asking someone to collect money for his kidney is not as long as you actually ensure that the person is compensated, whether financially, people don't see it as a big deal. But she mentions the boy, and it seems we don't want to spend information without talking about the boy. Let's talk about the boy's part, because right now, the boy is coming across like this innocent boy that was victimized by a family. He's coming across as a boy that was lied to and taken to the UK for organ harvesting without his permission. He came out in the beginning as an underage boy that was innocent of what was happening around him. But let us talk about the true facts of...
According to the facts that we have, case is that the young boy is 21.
He knew what he was going to do. It was not he wasn't underage. He lied about being underage. He lied about knowing what he was going to do. So can we address the fact that this not so little boy agreed from Nigeria and got there and changed his mind and put by his action, jeopardized this entire process.
So let me point out two issues which are very, very important here. You know, when you look at the UK modern slavery law, it says that whether the person is a minor or not a minor, it doesn't hold here.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that many Nigerians, when we are pushing the narrative that, oh, he's not a minor, or he's an adult, we were thinking that maybe should the UK actually validate that, and that will make it like a very strong case for Ekweremadu. Okay. But that doesn't count in this particular case. And then number two, the fact is that what was actually the premise for which the boy agreed?
Yes.
The reverse senator said that, well, he agreed and that he is the cousin, you know. Yeah. So, but then it was established that there was no relationship whatsoever. So there's, I mean, the law doesn't look at the face. So he lied. So if actually, and I mean, when the judge was railing out the case, he said you have a lot of cooks, you have a lot of people working for you. So why wouldn't there be like anyone who will, on compassionate ground, say, I want to do this because my boss has been good for me? Why will it be like a Lagos boy, you know, striving to survive? You know, when you put what he makes on daily basis, I mean, it doesn't hold water. So these are the premise with which to look at it. So in this particular case, whether the boy ab initio agreed for it to be sold or not.
Part of the facts that we read was that when he was interviewed in the hospital, he was asked, he said he's not aware that when he was asking, are you aware what kidney? He said he has no clue what kidney was. So that's where the discrepancies also was. Can you really validate that indeed he was aware before he left Nigeria? Because at the point of interview at the hospital, he was claiming he didn't know the whole.
Okay, but then there was a letter flying out then, you know, written by the senator to the British High Commission, stating the purpose why they want him to go, that he wants him to go and donate kidney. I don't think the boy is unaware. You know, when cases start, lawyers begin to educate, right? You want to make your case and all the rest of it. And if you ask me, on a face value, perhaps one of the major things they did where like Ekweremadu like stepped like red line was the plan to repatriate the boy back to Nigeria, right? You know, after they failed, because, you know, there was a technical term that was used.
Yes.
That mismatch. And the mismatch could be either on legal grounds or medical grounds. So the mismatch is, oh, we'll find a discrepancy here. And I don't think it's on legal ground because, I mean, some tests were done before finding him. I mean, you can't just be taking, you take one person, if it fails, you bring another person, you can. So there were some tests, I believe, that must have been done, both on the grounds that there were already some discrepancies, and then trying to bring back the boy and then maybe getting educated on certain issues. But another thing also it points out is, here you have a society where, like, I mean, these are Nigerians. Would that has happened for a street boy to be in the court with a former deputy senate president? I mean, that wouldn't happen. So you are talking about, and that really shows us what rule of law should look like. Where, like, every person is equally empowered by the law. No matter who you are, you have a voice. That, I mean, the law should make it in such a way that the child of a nobody can become somebody. I mean, we've had cases where somebody, some rich man, very influential, can threaten you that you're going to rot in the jail, right? Whether you have a case or not.
May I ask this question? I've been meaning to ask it since it's the fact that, you know, just Tokwe was saying something about this is something that's acceptable here in Nigeria, but it is illegal in the UK. And I wanted you, if you could help us, tell us if it is illegal here in Nigeria, what was done.
Okay, yeah, it's illegal in Nigeria. Yes, we have a health act that prohibits that, the sale of that, by 2015. But then, well, I think from the dimension she was going from, like, based on the public sphere, there's that impression, right? Yes. That impression that, oh, I mean, if we actually agree, I mean, there are people that sell blood. It's former, right? I mean, they just
but
go
you
like
would know that you're doing something that was constitutionally illegal.
They should know that, yes.
I think that's important because I don't think all of us knew that it was constitutionally.
Well, a lot of things we do in this country that are illegal, but because we have the laws, they're not just enforced because nobody holds us to account. So that's what happens. We have the laws here, but we have to wrap up. We run out of time. But thank you so much. I mean, our hearts go out to all the various parties, the young boy, the girl, the daughter who is ill and sick in the hospital. We don't know how she's doing. The boy who is, I don't know, he's in the UK, they're going to get a job, come back to Nigeria. We don't know.
No, he said he cannot come back.
He said he can't come back.
He said it's not safe in Nigeria for him to come back.
Oh, really? I didn't even get that part. And then the Ekweremadus and it. So all parties, I think, they've been lost all the way, and we really hope that the families can at least find a way to be private this time and help this young girl find some kind of healing through this process, because this is a really difficult one for their family, young boy, and even Nigeria at large. That is all we can take on today's show. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.